It's hard to believe it's year 11. Very excited to get this season started. We've had 3 weeks of really good practice. Have seen a lot of improvement from our returning players, and a lot of talent from our new ones. So, it's going to be an exciting year. We're going to jump into it real quick. We'll play a home game November the 10th versus SEMO, the first round of the preseason NIT. And then we'll head up to Ohio State to take on Ohio State at Nationwide Arena in the tip-off classic for the Final Four, as the Final Four is going to be played in Columbus at Nationwide Arena. So any questions from anyone? Would love to talk about the team, the players, all that good stuff.
What's the main thing you're looking to see out of this group early on in the season?
Well, I guess our number one goal is to score more points than the people we play. So that's our goal, is to see if we can see them make more baskets than the opposing teams.
Big winning record.
It's very it sounds intelligent, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? We've got to. I'm looking forward to seeing a few players improve. They've really done well in practice. Now it's a matter of, can you take what you've done in practice and put it into a game? Because that's the one thing. I've coached a lot of players throughout my time that are just first-team All-Americans in practice. But when the lights come on, you throw the officials on the floor, you've got to do it for an extended period of time. They struggle. But I've seen a lot of improvements. Sam Furian is playing as well as she's played since she's been here. Jasmine Jones has really improved. It worked on her ball handling, her passing, her shooting. She looks like the player that we had anticipated when we had recruited her. So those two specifically, I'm looking to see what they can do once we start playing games. And then our freshman, Dana Evans, has looked outstanding. Really excited for her. Loretta Kakala, her minutes right now is something. Her conditioning is what she's working on. But when she's out there, she's very productive. So really excited for those two. To see what they're going to be able to do.
Jeff, what has Asia improved in she did a lot of USA basketball stuff, a lot of things in the offseason. What has she gotten better at? And she was so good last year. What did you want her to work on?
Well, the one thing that we had talked about was really improving her assist. She scores the basketball extremely well. Now it's going to be, can you get your teammates involved? Can you, sit there and facilitate an offense? If you're not making shots, can you get somebody else the ball? Because her ability to score is, it's as good as anybody that I've coached. She's an extremely hard worker. She's in the gym first, leaves last. But now I'm challenging her to get to that 100 assist mark for the season, where she was at about 55 to 60 this past year. And I think it's something that she can do.
What about Maisha? Have you seen?
Maisha's, it's the progression from her freshman year to her senior year is quite amazing. It was a battle her freshman year to get her to play hard all the time. It's gotten a little bit better each year, and now she knows it's her senior year. You've got to get it done now. In our first few weeks of practice, she's looked good. She's in the best shape that she has been in since she's been here. So we're hoping that she can carry that over to the start of the season, because her first 3 years she's kind of struggled the first half of the year, and then has picked it up once we started conference play. And I've talked to her. Now you've got to pick it up from the first game. It can't wait until we're 10, 12 games in.
In looking back on those seasons, any common thread as to why she may have struggled early on?
No. It's just you've got to come prepared when we start. It's not let's get a feel for things. Let's see. No, you're a senior now. You know what to expect. You know what's coming. So we're hoping to have a great start from Maisha.
You've got so many of the same pieces as last year stylistically. Is this team going to play similar to how they did last year?
Yeah, we'll try to. We're not going to change a bunch. We are going to try and get the ball in the post more. With Sam Furian evolving as she has, she's really been scoring the basketball well on the block, and she's extended her range to the 3-point line in practice. Maisha, Bianca Dunham in the post. Kylie Shook has really become, more of a force playing with her back to the basket at times. So we're going to try to focus a little bit more on throwing it into the post starting off, and then hopefully get a lot more inside out looks.
You got a pretty big sophomore class. Do you believe in such thing as sophomore slumps or anything like that?
No, I mean, you've got freshmen, sophomores, juniors. I've had seniors that have had slumps. No, I don't believe in any of that. If you're a player, you're a player. And I think a lot of it comes from, if you don't play a lot your freshman year and all of a sudden you're thrown into a role, you're not sure what to expect. But all these kids have had the opportunity to play as freshmen, have played in some big games. So from what I've seen, they've all gotten better. So I'm expecting to perform well.
This is the 5th year you've had the same staff. How big is that, the continuity moving into a season when there are expectations on this team?
Well, it's great. I mean, everybody, we all know each other. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, so we always play to our strengths. And I'm fortunate, this is a great place to work. I've had 3 coaches, assistant coaches that have left and moved on, but all 3 have gone on to be head coaches. We're one of the few, I think, where it's like, hey, you're going to stay here until you possibly get that head coaching job. And if one comes for someone on my staff, I'm always supportive of that. But for our players, for recruiting, it's nice to have the continuity that what you're going to get. There's no hidden, surprise behind a door here or there. So it's been good for me. It's been good for our players.
Defensively, who do you expect to be your big players this year?
Dana Evans has really looked great. She changes the game at the defensive end of the floor. She's really good on the ball. She anticipates extremely well. She's long. She gets a lot of deflections in practice. She's one that I'm expecting some big things from on the defensive end of the floor as well as the offensive end of the floor, because she comes in with the ability to score.
Is she one? It might sound silly, but when you score so many points, do you have to tell them, okay, now you have teammates? I mean, because she almost took every shot.
No, she did. She did. There's no almost. And I tell her that. But actually, after the first week and a half of practice, I kind of had to, at times during practice, I asked her several times, was she trying to make up for all the time she never passed to her high school teammates? Because she was passing the ball every time, passing up open shots. And I'm like, babe, I recruited you because I know you can score the basketball. So if you're open, shoot the thing. And now what she has been working on, which I've been very impressed, because the one thing I'll tell you about Dana is, I can pull her aside in practice and say, hey, I need you to work on this, and you'll see her go out there and work on it. So it speaks volumes for a freshman to be able to take coaching and then try to go out there and carry it over. But she's passing the ball extremely well right now. She's learning to get to the rim. She gets to the rim pretty much whenever she wants. But now she's learning when that 6'3", 6'4" comes over to try to block a shot or pick her up. She's really doing a nice job of making that next pass. So I'm expecting her to score, and she knows that. But she's also getting a really good feel of what we're looking for at the offensive end.
I think you said at the tip-off, I think you maybe said Patrica Barlow. Is she in that mold?
Yeah. No, she is. Patrica, I was fortunate enough to coach her for 1 year, but she was all over the floor defensively. She was a great team leader. I think she might still have our single season assist record, which was her senior year for us, because she knew if somebody's made 2 or 3 shots, she'd get them the ball again. And as simple as that might sound, it does not happen all the time, that a point guard's able to recognize who's got the hot hand. And that's one thing I think Dana is starting to understand.
Is it unusual also, Jeff, that she is such a prolific scorer but comes in with a good defensive mindset as a freshman?
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of her scoring in high school also was from the defensive end of the floor. I think she's got the ability to challenge what Angel did for us on the defensive end at different positions. Obviously, Angel was at the wing, get a lot of steals, off of entry passes, where Dana, I think, is going to get herself a lot of steals on the weak side as well as on the ball as it's coming up the floor.
Will she pressure the point guard typically?
Yeah.
Or just whatever the high scoring guard is?
No, she'll start off on the point. I'd say 95% of the time when she's on the floor, because she does a great job of disrupting, what our scout guys are trying to do in practice. She's able to get them out of it just because of the ball pressure that she can put on.
Jeff, what did you see from Lindsay Duvall at all?
I was going to talk about Lynn's. Unfortunately, she'll redshirt this year for us. Lynn's is actually right now having a procedure done just to clean up her knee. She's actually been practicing and doing well, but just had a little nagging issue with it. And she decided with her family, with our support, that it's better off to just go get things taken care of now. She could probably come back, but there's no sense as a freshman to miss 2 or 3 months and then just get a month or two of your freshman year. So she's getting that taken care of right now. She'll be in the hospital for a few days and then be back here on campus. We'll start a rehab and get her gradually back into basketball.
Has Erica Carter given any suggestions to her how to spend this season?
Now, you know what? It's actually just all came about in the past few days. I've talked to Lynn. She understands. She is down, obviously, as we all are, because she had worked extremely hard this summer. Looked really good in preseason. But, it's part of sport. It's what happens. You've got to be able to adjust and, try to make the best of every situation. And right now, for her, it's going to be focusing on her rehab. And then as she's able to become more involved with practice, being able to really sit there and observe and learn.
Coach, with Halloween approaching, is there any confirmation that the man in the yellow hat might return again this year?
The man in the yellow hat will not return this year. We are excited about tomorrow night. It should be a big night for the Walz family. We're not going to divulge any costumes at this point in time. But we will be around, and, we always like to stop at the house that gives out the full-size candy bar. And then we'll go back and change an outfit and come back to that same house again, if we can.
Howie, what's your address?
Yeah, no full size here. I eat those. What were you thinking when you put together the schedule? Anything in particular on how it's structured and who you're playing?
No, we're excited about it. I mean, it's going to be a very competitive schedule with, a neutral per se game up at Ohio State just because it's not on their home floor, but it's going to be in Columbus, so it's going to be a home game for them. And then you're looking at the preseason NIT, where we start off with SEMO here at home. If we're fortunate enough to win that, if you look at the way the schedule in that preseason NIT is broken down, Toledo's the next highest seed. If it would hold true to seed, we would play Toledo. If we're fortunate enough to win that, then you look at a Michigan per seeding line. And then possibly on the other side of the bracket, your 2 highest seeds are Texas A&M and Oregon. So very competitive. It's going to challenge us early. And then you're looking at road games at Indiana, at South Dakota State, back-to-back nights. Which, if you're not fortunate to host the first and second round of the NCAA tournament, you're going to have to go on the road and play back-to-back games. So that's kind of why we did that. And you're looking at a Thursday, Sunday. So it's one extra day of prep compared to the NCAA tournament. But I think that's going to be a very good experience for our players. And then we come back home and it's, the 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th. It's, a stretch of games where it's UT Martin, Vandy, Middle Tennessee, and Tennessee State. So it's going to be a challenge for our players for the fact that you're not going to get a lot of prep time for each game. But they are all going to be at home, so to be a nice break for them there to not have to travel. And then another, battle at Kentucky, which will be another great game. And then we'll finish up the non-conference at Air Force to get the opportunity to go back to Colorado Springs, where Kylie Shook's from. So she'll be able to play in front of family and friends. And it worked out well because it's a 1 o'clock game out there our time, which will allow our student athletes the opportunity to get home, hopefully that night after the game, to be able to spend a few days for Christmas at home with their family.
What's the strength of the ACC this year, you think?
We've got a lot of talented teams. That's the one thing about the ACC. From top to bottom, everybody's getting better. So you're not going to have a night or two where you're like, okay, this is going to be an easy win. No, you're going to have to come prepared to play. We're going to face Virginia twice and Pittsburgh twice, and both those teams have done a very nice job recruiting. And then in the middle of that conference slate, we're going to be at UConn. So, it's going to be some really good basketball games, very challenging. And the great thing about our game, that I've always said it from day one, that I love about it, is you're playing every 3-4 days. It's not like a football where if things don't go well, you've got to wait a week and it's sitting in your mouth and you're like, golly, this tastes terrible. We get it. You're upset that night as you go home as a coach, and then the next day you're preparing for that next game because it could be the day after that. So that's a great thing about the game of basketball. Now, if you're not very good, it's really bad then, because then it's like loss, you play, you lose, and then, boy, that's really ugly. That's why you want to keep building, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're on a 3-game losing skid, especially in our league, because then it can really start to snowball and get ugly in a hurry.
Obviously, the preseason coaches poll came out recently. What do you think on where everyone is located on that?
You know what? I actually have not had a chance to look at it much. I don't pay attention to that a whole bunch. I think we're 10th or 11th, which is, I think it's great for our program. It shows the consistency that we've had here for 11 years, the respect that we're given as a program. But at the end of the day, we're more concerned about where we're ranked at the end of the season and not the start of it.
Got some tough non-conference games that are on the road, like Ohio State and UConn, but you also get your toughest conference opponents, Duke, Florida State, Notre Dame at home. Are you happy with how that worked out?
Oh, yeah. We played them all on the road last year. So it's kind of just a rotation of cycle year in and year out. But no, it is nice. I mean, it's nice to know that we're going to be facing a Duke at home, Notre Dame at home, Florida State at home. I mean, some very, very tough teams. But at the same time, we're at NC State, at Georgia Tech. It's just, it's a league that you have to come prepared. I mean, we lost at home to NC State this past year. So if you aren't ready, anything can happen.
Jeff, did the upheaval in the athletic department the last few weeks cause any setbacks for your girls? Or did they just
No, it's student athletes, they've stayed focused on what their jobs are. And that's to make sure they're going to class, taking care of business in the classroom, and then coming out here and performing, for us on the practice floor. They've been very focused. They have done a really nice job. We've explained, talked about the situation some, but not much. Asked them if they ever have any questions, and feel free to come in and ask. But they've done a very good job of, staying the course and making sure that they're taking care of what they need to take care of.
Do you get a sense that the fans? I think they maybe that the fans need you guys to get on the court and play to kind of move on with things.
Well, it's. The fans, I hope, will always come and cheer for the players. No matter if I'm here, who's here, it's the players that everybody comes to cheer for. I say it all the time. The only time they mention my name at a game is when they're yelling at me for subbing somebody wrong or not playing somebody. It's never, hey, nice call, you cheer for the fans. You cheer for the players. The fans are cheering for the players. And I hope that they'll continue to come out. It doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, softball, come out and support these young men and women, because they're the ones that are out there every day giving it their all. And I hope that support will continue. I've gotten great emails from our fans saying they're excited for the start of the season. They plan on being there supporting the young women, and that's all I can ask for.
You made the comparison, Dana, to Patrika. When you talk about Erica coming back and being healthy, is there any past players that she reminds you of?
You know what? No, not her sophomore year. She played extremely well. She started the point for us, I think, about the entire season. And she's just a heady, smart basketball player. She's not going to blow by you with her quickness. She's not going to overwhelm you with one part of her game or another. But she's the type of player that at the end of the night, when you look at the box score, you're like, hey, how did she get 10 points? And she ended up with 4 rebounds and 4 assists. But it's not going to be flashy. You're not going to see a bunch of flash from her. Where Dana right now has that gear that when she kicks it in, you're like, wow. The same thing with Jazz. Asia's ability to score in bunches and some of the things that she can do with the basketball will wow you. Where AC, she just grinds it out. She gets in there. She's fearless. And I know our fans are going to be excited to see her back on the floor.
You said last year you wanted Sid to become not just a shooter. Has she done that somewhat?
Well, she has. She's tried to work on her ball handling and a few other things. Need her to just I'm going to meet with all the players this week and go over what their roles are going to be. And then I'm going to need them to do their roles and do them well in order for us to reach our potential as a team. And for us right now, I'm really going to need Sid to knock down shots, just be that consistent three-point shooter that everybody's got to worry about. And then when she does put the ball on the ground, I just need her to make a good decision with it once she gets to where she's trying to go. If that's going to be another pull-up jump shot, if that's going to be a pass. Because what we've really been stressing a lot these past 3 weeks is ball control, making sure we're getting shots instead of turnovers.
Jeff, can you expand a little bit? You mentioned Jasmine a few times, but what has been the biggest difference from what she was last year when she came into here to what she is now?
Her conditioning level. She's in phenomenal shape. Last year, the old proverbial saying, you got to push through the wall. I mean, Jazz ran into the wall and fell down all last year. And now she's finally getting a second win. She knows how to continue to go, and all of a sudden you get that second win, and you've got that momentum back and that speed back, and she's finally figured that out, which is really important for us because she's a dynamic basketball player. I think you all saw that last year at times. Now we're seeing it a lot more consistent on the practice floor.
Do you know a line? I mean, do you know a lineup yet, or do you have a rotation? Because you have 11, or you only have 11. I mean, what's the rotation going to look like? Do you know?
You know what? No, not at this point in time, not quite yet. And we're going to have another scrimmage coming up here that I'll start some different players, just because of the fact that you want to give them an opportunity to have that starting experience in case you get a kid that gets hurt who has been starting, and then all of a sudden you throw somebody into a lineup who's never been out there to start off the game. You don't want them to get overwhelmed. So at this point in time, we'll get a feel for things as they go. And I tell them all the time, everybody's always so concerned about starting. And I understand they all like to make up a handshake and do all that as they come out. Where I'm from, I prefer to be on the floor at the end of the game. When it really matters. When it's a 4-point game and there's 2 minutes left in the game, if you're on the floor at that point in time, that's when you should be pretty excited about things because that's when it matters.
How have the veterans' leadership qualities grown since start practice?
AC's done a phenomenal job. She is by far the one that's out there, and I think she leads by example. The players will come up and ask her questions. Maisha, I think, is trying to lead by example. She's really been trying to push herself. As I said, she's in the best shape that she's been in. I need her to be more vocal on the floor, though. If she can do that, it'd be a big thing for us. So those two in themselves is our two oldest. Have really been doing a nice job, and I've seen some from Dana. I mean, she's been at practice and kind of been getting on some players where to go that they need to pop up or come over and help side. So I've been encouraged by her. But overall, it's a great group of young women. I mean, I'm really excited about them. I think our chemistry is fantastic. They accept the challenge. You just don't have that complaining. You don't have that one person that's constantly complaining about something. As I like to say, we've had a few in the past, and it's part of it that if they won the Powerball, they complain about paying taxes. And it's like, hey, you just won $50 million, and they'd be like, yeah, but I got to pay taxes. You know, and right now I think we have a lot of players. All of our players, the glass is half full instead of half empty, and that really changes the mood, the atmosphere, and the energy within your locker room.
Kind of off topic, but generally, it's been a couple years now since you all adopted the quarter system. How do you think it's gone? I know there's some talk in the men's game about maybe moving to that at some point.
I think it's great. I think it has sped the game up. I like that there's more opportunities to have end of quarter, you know, and more action towards the end of a quarter. There's a excitement 3 times instead of twice, or 4 times instead of twice, where there's an end of the game play per se. And then, you know, you get in some situations where somebody picks up the old, when we used to play halves, if you get to the bonus with 12 minutes left, well, you're shooting free throws for 12 minutes. Where in our game now, if you get into the bonus and there's 4 minutes to go in that first quarter, well, at the end of the quarter, it's starting over. So I think that's why the game is sped up. I personally would love to see us hopefully eventually get the FIBA rules. You know, I just had an absolutely blast this summer coaching that. The pace of the game is so much faster. You know, the reset on an offensive rebound goes back to 14 instead of 24 because you're playing with a 24-second shot clock. Coaches can't call timeouts during the game. You know, we can tell the scores table we want a timeout at a dead ball, but you can't stop the play. So then you really start watching the international teams that know how to play. Because you go on a 6-0 run and 8-0 run, coach can't call timeout unless there's a dead ball. And then you start seeing players foul on purpose because they want to get the clock stopped so then you can call a timeout. So a lot of the decision-making has to be done in practice. You've got to teach your players how to play the game. So they have to know what's going on. What do we do? How do we adjust? Because, you know, you can't bail them out. You dribble the ball across half court and you get trapped. I can't call timeout to bail them out of it. You know, those are the things that I think could make our game more exciting, get the action going up and down the floor more, which I think is something that everybody wants. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all coming out.
Thanks a
Our
lot,
young
Coach.
ladies will be out there waiting for you.